In this tutorial, we'll build and test a multi-agent system using the Visual Builder in Oracle AI Data Platform, or AIDP. Many business processes involve multiple specialized tasks that need to work together. In this example, I'll build a multi-agent system that automates expense compliance by coordinating those tasks into a single workflow. I'll start within the master catalog and select the plus icon to create a new agent. I'll enter a name and select an AI compute that will host the playground environment used for testing. After the agent opens, I'll begin building on the canvas. The node palette contains the components I'll use to create and connect the workflow. First, I'll drag a chat trigger onto the canvas. The chat trigger allows users to interact with the agent using messages. Next, I'll add a supervisor agent. The supervisor agent interprets user requests and delegates work to other agents in the system. I'll provide a name, description, foundation model, and instructions that define the supervisor agent's responsibilities. These instructions describe how the supervisor coordinates the executor agents and generates responses. Now I'll create the first executor agent. This agent evaluates expense reports against company policies and identifies potential compliance issues. I'll create a second executor agent that uses an MCP connection to Oracle Analytics Cloud to answer spending and budget questions. For this example, the executor agents already have the tools they need to perform their intended tasks. Once the components are configured, I'll connect them to create the workflow. The supervisor agent can now delegate the appropriate tasks to the executor agents. To help protect the system, I'll add a guardrails node between the chat trigger and the supervisor agent. I'll enable the guardrails node to block potentially unsafe content and prompt injection attempts. As I modify each section, the toggle is no longer grayed out, indicating the guardrail has been saved. Next, I'll configure memory settings for the agent. Memory determines how conversation history is shared across agents. I'll open the supervisor agent and select the memory tab. I'll configure private state isolation so each executor agent maintains a separate conversation history with the supervisor agent. I'll also limit conversation history to the last 20 messages. Now that the agent is configured, I'll switch to the Playground tab to begin testing. The Playground creates a testing session on the selected AI compute. Before I can start the session, I must set any required parameter values. I can then interact with the supervisor agent and validate the behavior of the entire system. I'll enter a request asking the system to review an employee expense report for compliance with company travel and spending policies. As the response is generated, I can review traces to understand how the supervisor agent delegates policy evaluation and response generation to the executor agents before assembling the final response. The agent combines curated expense data, company policies, prompts, guardrails, approved tools, and credentials to evaluate the request before generating a response. I can also test the complete workflow or evaluate individual agents independently to validate their behavior. I can also verify guardrails were applied to both incoming messages and generated responses. If I need to make changes, I'll return to the canvas, update the flow configuration, and continue testing in the playground. Once I'm satisfied with the results, I'll deploy the agent. Deployment makes it available for production use on the selected AI compute. For agent-to-agent or A2A scenarios, I would also create an agent card. Because this agent is intended for human users, that step isn't required. After deployment completes, I can view deployment details, including the endpoint URLs, which can be used to communicate with the agent. Now that I've built, tested, and deployed an expense compliance agent, I can use Oracle AI Data Platform to coordinate governed data and specialized AI agents through a visual, low-code experience. Find more videos in this series and additional resources on Oracle AI Data Platform in the links below.